Last week in Michigan politics, Governor Gretchen Whitmer laying out her plans and proposals in her annual State of the State address amid a critical election year. What she had to say and how lawmakers are responding. Plus, a blow for the legal fight of Ottawa County's embattled health officer, why a judge said the county will not have to go through with a multi-million-dollar settlement. And with Michigan's presidential primary just over 1 month away, why an earlier date could mean big changes for the Republican contest and the power of your vote. I'm Josh Alburtus, and this is your 13 on Your Side Rundown. Thanks for joining us. Governor Gretchen Whitmer delivered her annual State of the State address this week, pushing for new policy priorities in this critical election year.
Let's get it done.
A pivotal State of the State address from Governor Gretchen Whitmer as she laid out her priorities for what is all but sure to be a key year in Michigan politics.
Tonight, that's what I'm going to focus on. How we keep lowering costs, how we improve education to set up our children for success, make more stuff right here in Michigan and compete with the world.
Among them, priorities from education, expanded in-state manufacturing, and a need for affordable housing. Whitmer pushing a number of new proposals, including free community college for all qualifying high school graduates and a tax credit for family caretakers.
The new Caring for My Family tax credit could save thousands of Michigan families up to $5,000 on their taxes. That'll put money in the pockets of Michiganders who care for an aging or sick relative.
The speech came against the backdrop of both a critical election year in this key battleground state and a very different backdrop from the unified Democratic control she enjoyed last year. With the State House still equally divided, 54 Democrats to 54 Republicans, with 2 seats up for grabs in special elections set for April, the governor delivering a speech laden with both nods to state and national Democratic priorities, but also with appeals to common ground.
At our best, that's what we are, a home for opportunity for people seeking a good life and a good cost of living.
Some of the governor's Democratic allies saying the speech set the tone for the focus of the year ahead.
We're going to continue to work around the things that you saw her mention, though, lowering costs for families, making sure education is accessible, and making sure that we're strengthening our economy, supporting entrepreneurs.
But as half the chamber remained seated in many instances, some Republicans saying they're skeptical.
Every speech that talks about the state and the performance of the state is about positiveness, and to talk about things that are free, those are all great things to talk about because they sell to the general public. There's a reality check of who's going to pay for that.
And as for the governor, in a 1980s fashion that served as a common theme for much of her address, she had this to say about where the state stands and where it goes from here.
Fellow Michiganders, the state of our state is ready to rock.
Also in Michigan, the new Michigan GOP chair Pete Hoekstra is calling on Michigan Republicans to unite behind former President Donald Trump. Hoekstra, a former congressman from West Michigan, posted a statement on the social media platform X after Trump won the New Hampshire primary on Tuesday. He called Trump the presumptive nominee and said Republicans should focus on defeating President Joe Biden. The call for unity comes at a time when the state GOP leadership remains divided. Hoekstra was selected as the state party leader on Saturday, while existing chairwoman Christina Caramo continues to insist she leads the Michigan GOP. But just this week, attorneys for the National Republican Party saying it appears that Caramo was properly removed as chair following a vote to oust her earlier this month. That's according to reporting from the Associated Press. The AP is reporting that the attorneys came to that conclusion after conducting an initial review of a vote where a number of state party officials met and decided to oust Caramo. It comes amid financial questions and public infighting within the state party, as Caramo has asserted she is still the chair. The RNC's determination is not yet final, and Caramo's general counsel told the AP that despite that letter from the attorneys, they will continue with business as usual. Now in Ottawa County, in a legal saga that has continued for months, the county will not need to pay $4 million to its embattled health officer, Adeline Hambley. A judge made that decision on Friday. After hours of closed-door testimony, Hambley's attorney said the judge declined to enforce the settlement payment after testimony from County Clerk Justin Roebuck. The judge said while the board members intended to agree to pay that settlement, they were not specific enough in their motion to ratify the decision. Hambley's attorney, Sarah Howard, said she not only disagrees with the final ruling, but she doesn't agree with having that testimony be behind closed doors.
We disagree with the rulings. We think the public has a right to know. We think the defendants really need to subject themselves to public testimony here, and by continuing to oppose it, I don't think that instills public trust. But you know, we are where we are, and I understand the judge's decision, even if I disagree with it.
Now, on the other side of that ruling, Ottawa County's legal counsel Dave Coleman said those closed-door testimonies could not be avoided.
As I've said repeatedly, it's not because we don't want information out there or we don't want somebody to be heard. We do. But there are laws that we're bound by, and the board is bound by, and we can't make those kinds of disclosures. We just can't, not without proper, court decisions and things like that. And so we're very pleased with the judge's ruling, and this $4 million thing is gone now, as it should have been way back when.
Now, Howard said she and Hambley are planning to take a step back and discuss what their next move will be, and that could include a potential appeal of this ruling. And Michigan primaries are happening earlier than they have in the past. That means big changes for how the state GOP will choose who they want to be their nominee. This week, we broke down how this year will be different and how it could impact your vote. And now, as we know, the official nominee of each party is not decided until delegates from all 50 states meet at a national convention to make that final decision. That'll happen for Republicans. That'll happen in July in Milwaukee, and in August, that will happen for the Democratic Party in Chicago. Typically here in Michigan, each party decides how to spend our delegates through a statewide primary vote. But for Republicans, it is going to be a bit different this year. Let's take a look at why. February 27th is our new presidential primary date. That was moved up by the Democratic legislature here in Michigan, but that date broke with National Republican Party rules, so a deal had to be struck. Let's look at the broader context to kind of answer this question. In order to get the Republican presidential nomination, you have to have 1,215 delegates spread across the different states. Michigan, as part of this deal, as reported by our colleagues at ABC News, we will get 55 delegates to send to Milwaukee this summer and help choose that nominee. But how those delegates are going to be split, that is the question, and that is really the biggest part of this deal that was brokered. Let's take a look at how they are being split. 16 of our 55 delegates, that we will be sending to Milwaukee will be decided as usual by the results of that statewide primary, whereas 39, a much larger share, will be decided by that caucus, a convention, if you will, that will be held by the Republican Party here in early March. Now, one expert we spoke with said that the impact won't be as noticeable to voters in terms of this caucus, but in terms of the primary, it will look very similar to what we have usually expected in the past.
From a voter's perspective, it's still going to look like an election, and the best way to influence the process is simply to vote for your preferred candidate in the primary election on February 27th. But behind the scenes, there's going to be a multi-stage process whereby we translate those results and some other party activity to actual delegates at the national convention.
And applications are now being taken to fill an open seat on the Grand Rapids City Commission. 3rd Ward Commissioner Nathaniel Moody announced his retirement last month. Applications are available online or in person at the Grand Rapids City Clerk's office. They must be returned by 5 p.m. on February 1st. From there, a committee will narrow down the candidates to the top 3. The City Commission will interview each person and then choose a replacement. A City Commissioner is a part-time position that pays $32,500 a year. And Michigan is making voter access history. A new law will make it the first state to automatically register people to vote as they're leaving prison. We spoke to the sponsor of that bill to learn more.
Just ensuring that everyone's voice was heard.
Amid a flurry of criminal justice and voting expansion legislation in Michigan, the state is now set to roll out new automatic registration for more potential voters.
Our bill for automatic voter registration really covers a wide range of individuals.
Among them, newly released prisoners. Michigan is already one of 23 states who allow felons to regain voting rights after their release. But according to the bill's author, this will make Michigan the first to make that registration automatic. The new law will make it a requirement for the Department of Corrections and the Secretary of State to do so.
When citizens are engaged, returning citizens are engaged actively in the community and in voting and other community type involvement, there is actually a lower recidivism rate.
But while it passed by a larger margin in the Senate,
the bill is passed.
It passed the State House by only 3 votes. Some opposing the bill believed its content and timeline to be unnecessary.
If our aim is to increase voter turnout, we need to not force will. We need to fix our system in a way that restores integrity.
But for its supporters, the new law represents a key step forward. In their view, it's demanded by democracy.
If someone's eligible to return into our communities, they should be eligible, to vote and have a say in how we are governed.
And people across the U.S. on Monday marked the 51st anniversary of the Supreme Court's ruling in Roe v. Wade that established a woman's right to an abortion. It was overturned in the summer of 2022, leaving it up to the states. Some are concerned that the results of the 2024 elections could lead to a ban nationwide. We heard from both sides of the debate. January 22nd, 1973, a day that would go down in history as the day the United States established a new right to abortion. But 49 years later, another date would make history when on June 24th, 2022, that right was repealed. Now on what would have been Roe's 51st anniversary, lawmakers and activists in West Michigan gathered Monday to reflect on what they saw as a historic loss.
We could decide based on what's best for ourselves, our faith, our families, our future. Any pregnant person could make their own decisions. And then all of that was ripped away.
Here in Michigan, voters approved a 2022 proposal to add abortion rights to the state constitution. But those on Monday warned of what they say could be a nationwide ban on the way.
We're not going to let that happen, first and foremost. That's why we're here today. A nationwide abortion ban would undo everything that we have worked so hard here in Michigan, would undermine what Michigan voters voted overwhelmingly for.
According to ABC News, former President Donald Trump stopped short earlier this month of saying he would sign a federal ban if sent back to the White House. Others here say they'd welcome such a ban, having seen the fall of Roe as a victory.
We would love to see a federal ban on abortion. That would be amazing. Is that probably going to happen soon? I would doubt it. So we want to continue fighting in our communities, and we will try our best to establish laws that do protect women, in addition to, as I've said before, showing women that there are other options.
Even in the shadow of Roe, it's a fight that goes on as the country hurdles toward a critical election this November.
The work starts now.
We will continue to fight this battle from myriad fronts.
And Michigan is one of 26 states where abortion is legal. 20 of those states have passed additional protections like Michigan. 21 states have either banned abortion or have enacted a gestational limit like South Carolina and Georgia, which restrict the procedure to 6 weeks after conception. Finally, there are 3 states, Iowa, Montana, and Wyoming, where bans or restrictions are on hold because of legal challenges. And that's the rundown for your week in Michigan politics. Be sure to keep up with all the top political stories of the day, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com. We'll see you next week.